Welcome to episode 4 of Chronicles of a Chef and Father. Now we are in full circle. So if you notice, it was just a working class adult with young children getting the points of views of the children being raised into men. And then when the men become grown-ups, they get a job and they get married. So I have Nathan, my best friend, and I'm not going to say too much into it, but he's getting married. And there is a underlying age gap here. So as you can see, Nathan does not have any grays on his hairs compared to me. But the one thing I can share with you how we became good friends is because we met at Lancaster Bible College online. So we were online adult students. And so it's been a privilege to really see Nathan become the man that he is and to see him getting married. And that is such a big aspect because it shows how we can become. So being a child, growing up into a career, and then growing into marriage, here we are in full circle. So Nathan, the floor is going to be yours on this one. Hopefully your battery's in still good there. So how do you know when she is the one to marry? How did you know?
Well, first I'd like to say the salt and pepper looks good on you.
You're too kind, man.
So that's a good question. I think it could be different for everybody. I didn't go out on a ton of dates with a lot of other people. There's a few other people, and I kind of asked myself that question, like, how would I know? And then I always thought, is this it? And nothing ever worked out. And then I met the young woman who's going to be my wife, and it was just completely different. So and there's an aspect to it where it's completely different, and you're just like, oh, this is who the Lord is leading me to be married to, and that's how it was for me. I had no clue until I met her that is how you know.
I had a dream. It was the weirdest thing that my wife Jennifer, that we were married with children before I realized she was the one. I wasn't really much of a believer in Christ yet then, but it was the weirdest dream that I got curious about, and it kept becoming true. Some people have a different aspect. I did not have a good theological background then. I did not know Christ as well, but for some reason that dream was so relevant and it became true. I ended up getting marrying her and having children. So that's a long story short for me, how I knew she was one. I am a big believer though in the fact that God allows you to and will present your bride to be, and you will just know based off his providence and spirit of guiding you. And so I definitely talk that with my kids. I definitely have that regard because I want my kids to see women not as an object. I want them to see women as an individual that are beautiful human beings. And I feel like a lot of men do not do that. They objectify or they make them into objects. They're people with feelings. And there's not many gentlemen, and I believe we need to call the floor that we need to train better gentlemen because the women are not having that, and they deserve that. And so I definitely can tell you, for me, I made some mistakes too when I started preparing for marriage. One of the issues that I definitely did was not asking. So Jennifer doesn't have a father, so I didn't have anyone to talk, but I never talked to her mother about marrying Jennifer. And so if I could take back one thing for sure and read and have a replay or a redo, I would ask Jennifer's mom for Jennifer's hand in marriage. One of the other mistakes that I made was I did move in with Jennifer before we got married, but I gotta thank the church that we got involved with to call us out on it. And it wasn't like an angry brimstone. It was such a gentle blow that it was respectable. because it was explained well. It was in a content that I needed to do better. So they helped us to get married. They gave us the right counseling and be able to prepare for marriage in a ceremony. So we did have that in Miami. So we were in Orlando at the time, and then we moved to Miami to have the ceremony. And the pastor was willing to marry us down in Miami. So that was really nice. So for me, I don't think I would have a redo on that one because it gives stories that it's relatable, that I did do wrong. And it gives me an opportunity to tell the next generation, which I have here, my children, that this is what I made a mistake and I wish I could do better on. And I hope they can learn from my mistakes to do better. Let me see here. Going to the next content. So getting married and staying to your vows. I know you're about to get there, so I wanted to also share with you the context of that. There is an issue that I think one out of every, or actually every other person is actually the better way. They're getting divorced. Why is that? And I'm not asking that question. I'm just saying that we would ask ourselves that question, like, why are they not staying to their vows? That's the issue. You're making a vow under God, a pledge, a covenant, a promise that you're going to stay married, whether it's for good or for bad or better for worse, actually is the better word, sickness and in health. And I don't think we take that seriously in today's time. We downplay the promises. And so as you begin to explore and become married, and boys, I hope you hear this, is stick to the marriage. Like once you tie the knot, you made a vow and a pledge under God to stay married. And it's going to be hard because there's temptations. We talked about that earlier in the other episodes. But there are hard aspects too, because wedding planning, it's just a tradition. It's not necessarily a biblical thing, but we do it because we want to make a joyous ceremony. So the hardest parts, I'm going to tell them about my retrospect, and then I'm going to let you take care, see your point of view, because you're going through it now. But my parents took control of it, so it wasn't Jen's dream wedding. So there's some difficulties there, but it's because we strung together quickly at wedding, and because I was so involved with the restaurant business, I'm not even going to lie about it. I let them take the torch and plan it because I had no time to be thinking about stuff like that. Jennifer was involved with some of the planning, but she realized my parents kind of took it, which was understandable. It's not like we had all the money in the world at the time to do this, but I think in that aspect, some of the details that could have been taken into consideration didn't happen. But understandably, when you don't have the resources, you're trying to plan a wedding, you have to be content with what you have and the outcomes that happen in the midst of it. And that's what we ended up finding as our best compromise when we were doing our wedding planning. So how about you?
Yeah, going back to the divorce thing, it's a very high number, regardless if you're Christian or non-Christian couple. And one thing you mentioned is it's a vow before God, and it's a vow that you're making to each other. And it's we're learning, but it's a vow you're making to each other before God, and also with God. So the vow you're making isn't conditioned upon what the other person does, or how good of a husband or how good of a wife the other person is. The vow you're making for your behaviors, and so if the other person is not holding up their end of this covenant you're making, that's not a reason for you to break your end of the covenant. And the thing is that marriage is a picture of the gospel, right? And when we talk about the covenant that God made with us, the gospel is He made a covenant to save us, and He did that, and it's not because of anything good we've ever done. We've been the most unfaithful bride imaginable and possible, and yet He held up 100% of His covenant. There's nothing that He let go and didn't do that He promised to do for us. So that's that picture that when you're getting married, you need to get that in your head because it's not a matter of what the other person does is then how I'll respond in my marriage, but it's a covenant that you made with the other person and with God to follow through regardless of circumstances. The wedding planning is interesting. I'm more involved than most grooms because my soon-to-be wife is an accountant and very busy at this time of year. So I helped out a lot with that, but we also have family helping us, and she is doing a lot of the work for it. So wedding planning can be stressful, especially if you're not a huge party person, which I'm not a huge party person. But we've been so blessed that everything's coming together well. And the one thing is, it's a good perspective of you want to have a nice wedding, but you also got to remember it's just one day. So I think it's much easier to plan a wedding when you have that perspective of it's one day, and then we're going to go enjoy the rest of our lives together. And this doesn't have to make or break the rest of our lives, which is, I feel like, is how some people plan their weddings. Like, if this day is not amazing and perfect, and spend lots of money on it, then our lives are ruined in some way.
Just gotta sometimes let it go, and sometimes we get so locked in that moment. Yeah, you're right. I'm so glad we were just like, okay, go ahead, we'll see how this, it will end up being a great party for us. So I'm sure yours is going to be a success. It's going to be fun. It's going to be memorable. And I know Emmanuel can't speak too much on this. And I'm going to also let Nathan go because he has to hit somewhere to go. But thank you for just adding that context and everything.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
I look forward to watching the rest of the episode.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Guys.
And then I'll take that from you. So, but one of the things that I could definitely talk into is Emmanuel doesn't have a girlfriend currently right now, but I mean he is hearing some of these things. But one of the things, no ladies. That's all I gotta say. No. I'm so protective of my boy, but he will be, and I can vouch. I've seen his development. I've seen how he is, but he would be a great husband. I see how loving he is to other people's kids. I've seen him very loving towards his family, his sister. And then there's some ugly sides to it too, but that I don't think there's ever such a perfect scenario or thing. But Kaleo, on the other hand, does have a girlfriend. And so, Kaleo, could you breathe into light about that a little bit and what you heard in the content that we just talked about with marriage?
Yeah, I think it's hard whenever you're so young to look towards marriage, and obviously that's like the goal. But I think that's the important thing in a high school relationship, if that's like something that you plan on doing, is to make sure your priorities are right and like make sure that you understand the commitment to it and not just do it for fun or to just say that you have a partner. And I think you guys were very, as parents, you guys were very protective of me and Emmanuel, like entering a relationship, and you didn't want us to just like do it for fun or to just say that we had a partner. But I think whenever I entered that stage of life, I was open about it and I told you everything, and I still do that now. And I think that kind of helped you support our relationship and see like why I guess I am in a relationship, and then you guys also creating that relationship with her and kind of understanding where I come from as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely trying to, again, that was new charted waters. One of the things I learned personally is that you have to be the gentleman, and you got to, and I think I mentioned this, but we definitely seen as you went and build that relationship with her was growth in your character. I'm very well pleased with how well you turned out to be in that aspect, and I think it happened for the better. She influenced you well. Her family influenced you very well, and I definitely have to say that there was no change of character for the worst. So that's definitely something you'll notice is when you're in a relationship, is your character better? Those are some things that you want to ask. Like, does that person want you to be a better human being? Are you and hearing that you want your relationship moving in Christ is very pleasing. She's a very wonderful person. Has a wonderful soul inside and out, and I definitely am happy for you, son. I just don't know where everything leads. Again, there's this unknown variable that's happening, but I definitely can say, keep going with this journey and see where God leads you. And I definitely can say when I tell you in that aspect, I'm also happy to say, and you tell me if that's true or not, but they do see the gospel very well. I did not force that on them. I'm not one to force, it is good to have scripture through, but I'm not going to force it on you. I'm going to make you question it. I'm going to make you explore it. And that's one thing I can definitely say. What do you think, Emmanuel?
Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, I don't have a girlfriend right now. I have had one before. But, I think something important whenever you're, like, looking for someone or, like, whenever you know, like, that someone is for you is whenever, like, you can be with them and they're not, like, changing who you are. Like, there's some people, like, you'll date and even if you talk to them, and whenever you're around them, you kind of, like, change how you act. You don't act the same way. Or you're not being yourself with them, and I think it's important that, like, you have to find someone that you can just be yourself with. You don't have to, like, be fake with them or anything like that.
And I definitely agree with you there. You don't want to be fake. You want to have a very good, authentic relationship, but you also become a team, right? A couple becomes a team. The imperfections of each other gets balanced by your strengths. So really, a lot of people come into marriage thinking, I can change you. I can change who you are and your viewpoints and make you, like, make you to who I am. That's actually the wrong mindset. The right mindset is, we have these weaknesses. I can't change those weaknesses. Only God can. And that might be through time. And we're not expecting an overnight change. That's the other thing. So what we can make stronger are your strengths. And those are the things that I believe as a team, especially for me going on 18 years of marriage, I believe that we do have some blurring weaknesses between Jen and I, and we definitely got our strengths and we made them stronger together. And I believe we've done a good job of balancing, communicating better. We don't try to jump on decisions and go rogue. We have to take into consideration each other's point of view. I believe you see us have that dialogue quite a bit. And then if I were to make a decision, Jen would consult me a lot with the things, and then I would bring anything they would bring to me, vice versa, back to her. So we try to work as a team, a cohesive unit, and that has been very helpful. So anything else you guys want to add besides that? It's the full circle. So we're talking about getting married. So even though the person with the main topic, Nathan, is out, we just wanted to make sure we bring it in full circle, and also the preparation with my young men, my two sons, that they hear that perspective as well from us. Anything else you wanted to add? So I believe we're good. That concludes episode 4. Thank you for watching the content. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope to give you some more content in the future. So thank you for watching Chronicles of the Shepherd Prophet.